So the Gauntlet's all about going fast. Yeah, I think a 0-second cooldown teleport that kills everything around you automatically should do the job, right? Hello, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome to my Gauntlet prep build. This is what I'll be taking in, and I am very confident in its ability to absolutely annihilate it and give me one of those sweet, glorious high positions on the leaderboards. So without further ado, it's time to go fast. Very fast. Lightning fast, you might say. But that said, it's not enough to just go quickly. What we know about the Gauntlet is twofold. Number one, the enemies will be the equivalent of a tier 70 Nightmare Dungeon, which is why I'm testing this build on tier 70 plus Nightmare Dungeons and some of the weaker bosses, which it obviously annihilates. Not that it has any trouble against the likes of Uber Lilith either, but that's above the pay grade of what we're going to be faced with in the Gauntlet. Secondly, we also have to clear the Gauntlet as fast as possible while also killing every enemy along the way. So the solution to that as a sorcerer, to me, what I've come up with here feels fairly simple. We have the best, fastest movement skill in the game in teleport, so we make teleport have no cooldown, and we make it so teleport itself kills everything. And then we just have to spam teleport through the dungeon and claim our prize. That is the goal, and it has been achieved, and I'm immensely proud of it. This is essentially the Season 3 ultimate form of my teleport bomb that I came up with back in Season 1, whereby the act of teleporting on top of enemies itself is enough to kill them via the combination of Raiment stunning them, and then the Charged Bolts enchantment summoning charged bolts from stunned enemies, which then kill them all. It's this beautiful combination that we can actually viably use in this pinnacle content because the difficulty of it isn't the hard part. The clearing speed is. Because it's only tier 70 equivalent enemies, a teleport charged bolt enchantment swarm is enough to kill them. Add in the rest of the build and it's way overkill. Bottom line, this enchantment is enough to kill most enemies at tier 70 level. So you just teleport on top of them, stun them, release charge bolts, and you're good. But you also have unstable currents, which is spam summoning lightning spears, thanks to our ridiculous attack speed and the R-class infusion, and the lightning spears themselves also stun, because that's what they do, and then they stun the enemies away from you at distance, release charge bolts, and then kill them anyway, this time without you even needing to teleport on them, which, as I say, we can do consistently with a 0-second cooldown that we'll get to. It's such a ridiculously broken speed loop. We don't even need the Firebolt enchantment or burning synergy, which lets us do a lot more because we don't have to spend Paragon points on burning, we don't have to waste an enchantment slot on burning, and we get to actually have a lot of fun here while also moving. I mean, you're seeing it, right? Just the teleport, 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 and everything is dying. I'm barely having to interact with, well, the game, honestly. This is an extension of the new paingorgers R-Clash that I presented to you guys a while back now, but it incorporates this charged bolt teleport bomb, 0 cooldown unstable currents, 0 cooldown teleport, constant spam of all your defensives. You're just unstoppable in every single sense of the word, and I really cannot express just how effective this is. I think it's going to be very difficult to beat, if I'm honest with you. Now, if I'm also honest with you, I am preparing this ahead of time before we get the full sort of campfire chat for the Gauntlet, so if anything changes in there that would need this to change, I will add it right here. And if nothing else has happened, I've not inserted some voice, or there's not been a cut to something from the future, then nothing needed to be changed, and we're all good. So without further ado, let's jump in. Going fast then begins with the skill tree, as you might have expected. We want 5 out of 5 in Arc Lash, as it is our main damage filler as we go around, and what we'll be spamming on any bosses or particularly tanky enemies, yada yada. It just kind of funnels the whole build forward. We want to take it to enhanced, but then flickering, as this is all about speed, so movement speed is better than a bit of cooldown reduction, which A, we're not going to use that much because things just die if they get stunned, so we won't be swiping stunned things that often, and B, we already have a 0-second cooldown teleport and unstable current, so we don't need help from Arc Lash. So yeah, grab the movement speed. Then we go over to our cause, where we want to get 3 out of 3 in dominance, just so the charged bolts and everything unstable currents does cast gets that 9% multiplicative more, and then we want to put 1 point into Chain Lightning, just so we can take it to enhanced and then greater, so the Chain Lightnings fired by unstable currents are stronger. Because we're not burning synergy, we have the spare skill tree points to enhance just all of our general shockage, which is really great because now our unstable currents becomes that much better, and it's permanently up anyway, and it just makes very good things happen. Get your 5 out of 5 charged bolts. This is going to be the secret sauce, and indeed our first enchantment for that. If they get stunned, they now die because of this loop. Then we want to take it to enhanced, and finally greater, as it will be stunned enemies producing them, so we want them to take that 25% multiplicative more. To your defensives, where we get all of the glass cannon, because we might as well, especially in Gauntlet, where enemies aren't doing that much damage, so it is just free damage. And then we want teleport, take it all the way to shimmering, and then flame shield all the way to shimmering. You'll go faster, and indeed the second enchantment slot, so we can go even faster to trigger that raiment, get to the end, summon all your charged bolts, you know how it goes by now, and then your general emergency extra cooldown button that is flame shield. 1 point in attunement, so these two can reset, and then over to conjuration. Grab yourself protection, so we are permanently barriered from spamming all our abilities with no cooldowns. This is great always in every sorcerer build. And then we want 3 out of 3 conjuration mastery. We have both lightning spear and ice blades on our bars. That's already 2 consistent stacks, but then unstable currents is constantly up, constantly summoning lightning spears, which is going to take this to 11. Seriously, you will see 11 stacks, and that's a lot of damage. So grab your lightning spear and then take it to invoked, get your ice blades and take it to summoned. You might as well, it's not like it's needed, but it at least gives the ice blades a bit more to do. Chiefly they're here just for the extra conjuration stacks and for the cold damage to trigger Tal Rashes. The lightning spear stunning everyone, however, is so good, flying everywhere, cleaning up the enemies you may have missed, summoning charged bolts on them when it stuns them. It just really quite literally mops up the dungeon without you having to think about it. Then to the mastery, where we just put the point in ball lightning to then get enhanced, so it's a little bit stronger when summoned randomly from unstable currents. And then we want static discharge to get full shocking impact. We are stunning enemies a lot everywhere, and this is just free damage. It creates the teleport bomb even more. To your ultimates, we want to get unstable currents, and we'll get the attack speed, and we'll get the crackling energy just so it's pulsing. Unstable currents is essentially permanently up, and this is just free damage, and it's damage that matters a bit more in something as weak as a tier 70. Then we get coursing currents. We don't get electrocution because we don't need the survivability, but we do want all the movement speed we can get, so conduction makes sense. And then finally, the what has become the quite usual way to sorcerer now is get Essu's ferocity, so that we can play Ancient Flame Aspect and get 75% free attack speed permanently, which is 75% more unstable currents, random skills thrown out, which is 75% more lightning spears, which is 75% more success. It really is just that good, and way more useful to us than either Vias or Overflowing. So that is your full skill tree for this Gauntlet Destroyer. To the gear side of things then, where things get very fun. First of all, gems. You want health in your armor and armor in your jewelry. For your weapons, you can either have your basic skill damage if you find yourself swiping a lot, or you want critical damage to vulnerable if you find yourself not swiping a lot. I would lean towards crit damage with vulnerable, but I've got one of each just to show you your options. Aspect-wise then, we have good old Conceited, we're always buried, this is just a nice big increase in damage, and also make sure you have a dagger, not a wand, as yes, we'll be killing people at range with the lightning spears and stuff, but we have no use for lucky hits, we might as well get the extra close damage a dagger gives us. Then we have ourselves piercing static, so the charged bolts can actually hit everyone in your big cluster. You teleport on a group of enemies, there's like 8 of them, you stun them all, bring them together, 4 of them release 3 charged bolts each, that's now 12 charged bolts hits, piercing through the pack, blowing them all up, and you're good. Without piercing static, it just kind of doesn't work. Then we have ourselves adaptability on your ring, which makes your arc lash do that much ridiculous more multiplicative damage, certainly worth having, and because no firebolt, we don't need to worry about X-Files, so we do actually have our ring to work with, and this is the best choice. Lastly, we have offensively Ancient Flame. This permanent near 75% if you have a max roll. Attack speed on everything that we're doing is glorious. The more random shock skills during our permanent and stable currents, the better, and this really is the way of doing that. It means we don't need to have something like Rapid for basic skill attack speed when we can just get more attack speed and globally. Then for your defensive aspect on your helmet, you want specifically Disobedience, not Juggernaut. As much as I think Juggernaut is awesome and in most cases better, here we want speed, so lowering the cooldown of our teleport kind of works against the entire build, so go for your Disobedience. When it comes to our uniques, we have the required Raiment of the Infinite for the teleport stunning, which, you know, makes the whole thing happen. You know, your Raiment, very much what you want for any kind of speed clearing, which Gauntlet is. Tal Rashes for that lovely stacking 45% multiplicative damage, and perfect Affix. This thing is just, every time I explain it in a build guide, it just makes me happy again, because it's such a good item we have. In any case, over to paingorgers, the new unique, for that lovely ridiculous echoing basic skill damage. All of your moves will mark your target, your lightning spears at range, your teleport itself when you land, your flame shield dot, and then any swipes you do, well, will just kill everything because everything is marked passively by the rest of your skills. This is so good, and against single target, it's still echoing double up onto them, which is really nice too if we have to face down any chunky enemies. We're constantly teleporting, so this is just a constant 40% multiplicative increase. There is no reason not to have it. It funnels into the teleport bomb and really gets the job done. The mana and stuff obviously irrelevant here, but the damage is too good to ignore. And then the 0 cooldown on your unstable currents thanks to Flicker Step. It does work with the teleport enchantment. Any enemies you do teleport through will lower the cooldown, and this gets your unstable currents off cooldown before it's even finished its 10 seconds of duration. Flicker Step is awesome. We know this. It is certainly worthwhile over something like Essu's. Although Essu's is more damage, nothing beats just having that constant unstable currents, constant swarm of lightning spears in this setup. So, that leaves just your affixes then. What you want is the following: cooldown reduction, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, basic skill attack speed, basic skill damage, ranks of defensive skills, movement speed, vulnerable damage, and then just your general increases like close, like intelligence, and so on. I do wish the Hoarfrost on here was something different, but this is currently my best amulet for the job. I really do want to farm a better one though. Defensively, on your helmet, make sure you have % total armor, and then everything else the best you can get, ideally cooldown reduction, and hey, a few ranks of relevant skill isn't too shoddy either. Over to your Seneschal, where things are as you expect them to be. The permanent 50% multiplicative more damage flash of adrenaline, comboed with Genesis, duration, and tactical to make it do that. Get this, always have this, you need this, this is just too good to ignore. If you don't have Genesis, well, put in anything else you prefer until you do. Over on the other side, the usual Tempest to permanently keep up these active, efficiency for that 15% crit, your breaking to have your vulnerable uptime. Yes, your lightning spears and your ice blades will be helping a lot with that, but there's no harm in having extra. The only thing to maybe suggest is, because we are moving so quick, having something like initiative support, so your Seneschal can teleport and keep up with you might actually be the way to go, but you can make that call. And then lastly, Evernight, if you have it for that permanent +4 and everything, obviously wonderful, especially with Unstable Currents sending out all of our random shock skills. If you don't have Evernight, then yeah, do whack Initiative along with Breaking and Efficiency. When it comes to how to play it, essentially just spam everything all of the time. We want to cover every inch of the dungeon while killing everything as fast as possible. So yeah, just fully go for it. Aim for every group of enemies while just kind of randomly arc-lashing. You don't really need to aim, you can just sort of do it as you go around and not worry too much about the specifics of what's happening. Everything comes off cooldown so quickly that we just need to blitz along. Obviously I'm going back and forth here because it's training dummies, but you get the idea. Just keep progressing forward nice and cleanly, teleporting onto each pack of enemies, pathing through the dungeon, covering all of the space, using our ridiculous movement speed and the teleport bomb, and everything will essentially work itself out, and that is absolutely lovely. Just seeing the cooldowns fly off is so satisfying. Alrighty then, let's round this off with the Paragon board, and it's one I am very happy with. Because we don't have Burning Instinct, no Flaming Synergy, we can actually get a little bit further and be a bit more creative with what we've chosen and where we've gone to create this build. Up and to the right, get your Elementalist, continue on through this Intelligence and get the other Elementalist in the first glyph slot. Grab Erudite and then head up past Elemental Balance into the first main board, which is, as usual, Enchantment Master. We want to initially head up right to this magic node, go to the glyph, grab your Reinforce for that DR while we're barriered, which is all the time, and to enhance both Erudite and Elemental Balance, which you want to be grabbing. Make sure you get the full magic node cluster here, go straight left from the glyph and get Elementalist, and then go up from this Willpower and get Ruinous. Now, firstly, we want to go right from this All Resist. Leave the maximum life here. We don't worry about this whole left side for now. First and foremost, go right, go through this board gate, and here we have Static Surge. This build is all about killing enemies with a stun, so this is a very important board. Head straight to the glyph slot, make sure it's arranged so that Overwhelming is in the bottom right, and at this glyph we want Control. Again, damage to stunned is everything, so certainly grab it. We want to get a little bit of extra dex too, as powering it up is a really nice thing to do here, so make sure to do that. Firstly, head straight up and get yourself Paralyzing for that 30% damage to stunned. Make sure we get this entire cluster here with Incapacitate for another 30% damage to stunned. Then go down to this dex, head straight right for another 30% damage to stunned enemies. Then we can hang on a little bit because we won't be going down here for now. Leave it at just this Intelligence, we will return. Go all the way back over to our Enchantment Master and head up through this non-physical damage, left to this Willpower where we will go up, get Suffused Resilience, and then all the way up mainly to Enchantment Master. This is 20% less cooldown on our extra dodge teleport and 20% more chance to release charge bolts from stunned enemies, which takes it to almost a 50-50 per stunned enemy, which is phenomenal for consistency, and one of the luxuries that we can afford because we have spare points, not needing to pour into the Burning Instinct board. Then we want to head left at the Willpower into this next board here, which is your Frigid Fate. Going straight across like so, grab the Dex, as we want to then go to the glyph and activate Exploit for an extra 10% multiplicative and that vulnerable damage. Then we want to go all the way past Weakness round and get Frigid Fate for that multiplicative more vulnerable. We have a lot of vulnerable, of course, from the Lightning Spear, the Ice Blades, and ideally the Seneschal, so this is always up for us. Then we want to go straight down from the glyph, veer right to this Intelligence, then to this Dex, veer all the way right to Oppressive, get the extra vulnerable damage, we might as well for the sake of 4 points, and then we can head straight down here into the next board, which is going to be your Ceaseless Conduit. Arranged so that Galvanic Catalyst is in the top left, and head straight towards it through this double dex here, where we will be activating Destruction for that sweet extra crit damage. Then we want to grab all of the dex effects that we can from everywhere around the place to amp this as much as possible, and you are done. Which leaves one final place to go, south from this intelligence in the static surge board on the right all the way down, and this board mainly exists just to give us an extra glyph, but it does also help us out a little bit more than that. It is your elemental summoner. Arrange it so that Keeper of Elements is in the top right, which we will be grabbing, so head straight down, go over through the non-physical damage, and then get it. To put it in perspective, well, if we look at this node here, the multiplicative more vulnerable, it's currently on 24%. If we grab Keeper of Elements there, it's now on 26. That's a nice little increase on top of the actual, you know, damage it gives us for more non-physical. Then we want to go straight down to the glyph slot via the 10 intelligence here, where I have gone for Conjurer. Now, mainly because 20% extra duration on lightning spears is so good for this build, and you kind of don't appreciate how until you play with it. Them keeping up, going for more enemies in more rooms, stunning them, killing them, is really nice. The Ice Blade aspect is just fine, but longer lightning spears does a lot. Inherently, though, you can use whatever glyph here you do prefer, you think will work best with how you play this build, but I quite like having this. Not needing to do an insane amount of damage, it's only tier 70, does let us use a little bit more of a fun selection that still really helps. In any case, get your glyph in, activate it, and then grab Conjurer 2, as we may as well. So that is your Paragon board for Ultra Speed, One-Shot, Teleport Bomb, Sorcerer, and I think it's a really, really nice one. Which leaves me just to say, good luck! Obviously, the Gauntlet is going to be the big deal, the end game of Season 3. It's going to be what we're all pushing, getting up the leaderboards, getting those rewards, being remembered in Diablo for history! Or some such like that, but the point is, yeah, good luck, have fun with it, and of course I will be back with how it's gone, any adjustments I've made, and all of that good stuff from the Sorcerer perspective, of course, when I can. For now then, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.